The scenic design that I developed for this production of Nutcracker, together with Sasha, the choreographer, is a magic box that can become anything. We wanted to create this kind of empty space that then the fantasy is able to fill up. That we're not just taking you immediately to another strange world where you don't know how we got there or what it is, but it's this journey that starts with this very simple gesture and then takes you on this sort of flight of fancy to so many different worlds. In ballet and opera and theater of all sorts, tradition is a kind of strange word. I often think that tradition just means an accumulation of the things that have happened before. And it's something to respect and to appreciate and to mine for all of the amazing things of all the artists that have worked on the piece before. Then our task is to continue adding to the tradition of what Nutcracker is, because the artists that come and will make the next Nutcracker after ours will be inspired, hopefully, by our contribution to the traditions. For me, it's always important to look at what the audience had seen before, because you want to exceed their expectations. You want to add new elements of fantasy, new elements of surprise. But oftentimes, with a production like The Nutcracker that is beloved and comes back year after year after year, there's also a power in certain moments or certain emotions that you remember, and that gives you sort of a warm, cozy feeling as well. So I think it's a balance always of sort of meeting people's expectations and then exceeding people's expectations. As a designer, we're always looking to create magical moments. And we have so many different techniques at our disposal to do that. I happen to love traditional scene painting. I trained at La Scala in Italy with the best scene painters in the world that have been working in a tradition that goes back hundreds of years, and really learning the sort of the trompe-l'oeil effects and the magical things that you can make with just a bit of cloth and a bit of paint. However, as designers today, we also have lots of new technology that's available to us. There's video, there's lasers, there's moving lights, there's so many things that we can do to continue elevating the art of storytelling. So in this production here, we've put together a team of an amazing light designer who is Driscoll Otto and a video projection designer, Greg Emeta, who are both collaborators I've worked with a lot in the past. And as Sasha and I were talking about the development of the production, I thought really they were the best artists to add to the magical elements that we're making. In the end, a lighting designer and a video designer and a set designer and a costume designer, props designer, we're all taking very simple materials, whether it's paint and wood and steel and fiberglass, as well as light and pixels that we can project onto things and transform the everyday into something that's really exciting. What's really cool about the video technology is it's gotten so advanced with the speed with which we can work that we can be as creative as we want. As Sasha comes up with new ideas in the choreography, we can make new things that respond to the choreography. For example, if you're painting a set with big painted drops, you have to plan those at least several months in advance, and then the materials have to be bought and ordered and manufactured, and then you start to paint them, but you can't change them immediately. You can't change the colors, you can't change the size right away. So to me, that's using technology in a really smart way when we start adding a video component onto it, that it can be much more interactive and responding to ultimately what's the most important thing in a ballet is the performers and the dance itself. I feel like I'm really lucky that even though I'm not experienced as a ballet designer, I've been around ballet a lot in my life. I was involved in productions of Nutcracker as a child in my hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I was really interested in participating in making theater in any way possible. And in a smaller town, you don't really choose between opera and ballet and theater in a way. You just sort of take what's available. So already as a child, I had this kind of upbringing with it. Something else that's been very important to me in my exploration of ballet is that I work in Russia quite a bit. And the big repertory theaters there, the Mariinsky and the Bolshoi and the Ekaterinburg State Opera, where I've worked many times, they have major ballet components, probably the most famous ballet companies in the world. So when I'm working there in rehearsals, there are ballets that are happening on the same stage parallel to the opera productions that I'm creating. So I'm around the ballet all of the time. I go see many ballet performances at the highest quality really in the world, and I'm working with the artisans that are working in the costume shops and the scene shops making ballet scenery. So I'm always around it, but more as somebody who is enjoying it as a spectator and watching how this sort of magic happens outside of me as a creative artist. So when I was given this opportunity to design a ballet, I thought, okay, it's not such a strange world to me, but I also will bring my own experience as an opera designer in a way to it. One of the things that I found that's very different is how much of the floor space you have to leave open for the dancing. Obviously, they need lots of space to make the formations and do the choreography on a flat space, whereas in opera, oftentimes you're dealing with more levels. However, working with Sasha, he wanted my sort of opera theater experience coming to the ballet. So we found ways to introduce some of the vocabulary and the techniques that I'm more familiar with into the ballet production, trying to get different levels and breaking up the dance space in a way that maybe isn't so traditional where you have a completely open dance floor all of the time, but we've actually modified the space and created a lot of obstacles for the dancers that has then inspired some of his choreography, how it works around these things. So I think together, actually, this sort of the push and the pull between the different spheres of experience is going to make something that is very different than has been seen before. Something that's very different as well with the ballet world versus the opera world is the lighting. That side lighting is very important so that you can see a lot of definition and three-dimensionality in the dancing and the footwork and the shapes of the body. And the scenery that I've designed is very much not a classical ballet setup. And I've actually created a lot of problems and a lot of obstacles to traditional ballet lighting. But by bringing on a team of people who are very good at what they do and also have ballet experience, again, we found ways to bring an aesthetic that works for the ballet, but is not using the sort of tried and true principles that we know how they work. So that's why I'm here now for the last 2 weeks to try to bring all of these elements together. And to be perfectly honest with you, we don't know exactly what the result is going to be until we start doing it. But having the right people and the right technology and the right facilities in place is a good starting point. I think all of the creative teams that I work on, collaboration is the most important thing. Everybody brings a skill set and brings expertise, but also, if you're a lighting designer, you're sitting in rehearsals all over the world watching things all the time. You're going to have opinions about the costumes, about the video, about the movement on stage. And the same thing for me as a designer, that I can't design a staircase or an entrance or a door without thinking about how the people are going to use these objects and use these elements and how they're going to interact with them. So I think already there's a lot of overlap between these jobs. Personally, I haven't designed any scenery for anybody for any show that I haven't directed in probably 20 years. So this is a real first for me. But it was a way during the pandemic when everything was crazy and everybody that was working in theater lost their jobs for who knows how long. In the beginning it was weeks, and then it was months, and then it was potentially years. I was able to make these new connections. When Sasha reached out to me, I thought initially, oh, nobody's ever asked me just to design scenery for them because they always ask me to direct and design things. But I said, listen, this is my skill set, this is my expertise, this is my interest in developing a piece together. We had lots of time because of the pandemic. So many ideas that Sasha had were about scenery, about the use of space. So he, as a choreographer, is already thinking about the scenic space. But then when he talks to me and I'm talking about the scenic space, then I have to respond by talking about choreographic ideas and about dramaturgical ideas, about storytelling, about pacing, about how we're molding the space, not just physically, but also emotionally from the point of view of the characters. So I think that it overlaps a lot, and the most successful collaborations are where everybody at the table has a voice to make this special thing that ends up being much more than the sum of its parts. The Nutcracker is a really interesting story because the original source material is quite dark. There's a lot of sort of fears and primal problems that people come across in the piece. And yet it's a very happy sort of Christmas-themed Fantasyland world as well. So I think when Sasha and I and the rest of the creative team, together with Linda Pisano as well for the costumes, we were really interested in creating this really epic journey that we can sort of touch upon all of the different facets of the story, whether they're fanciful or whether they're playful, whether they're sort of filled with childlike wonder, or whether they're sort of dark and mysterious and a bit dangerous, that we can take the audience on this sort of amazing journey throughout the course of the ballet. And one of the most exciting things for me in any production is that you start the audience in one place and you bring them along for a journey and take them to places that they did not expect at all along the way. That the curtain goes up and you think, ah, I understand this world, but then we bring you along and take you to places completely unexpectedly. So for me, watching the choreography develop, watching the costume designs develop, I have to then continue to try to create an environment in which all of these sort of quicksilver changes can take place. And also, ultimately, until we start working with the dancers and the actual human performers that are there, I think you never quite know exactly what the result is going to be until you do the magical thing of rehearsing it. So now, in the last 2 weeks of preparations, we're taking together all of these several years of preparations and bringing it together. The story of the Nutcracker is so fanciful that there's so many different ways to tell the story. There's sort of the bones, a skeleton of a story that we have from the original short story, but then by the time you put it into choreographic form, it becomes a metaphor, it becomes poetry. So the way that that's created every time you do it is completely different. So I think that by coming back to this story that has a strong narrative, it has characters, it has a situation, it has a sense of conflict, it has a sense of journey, it has a resolution built into it, but we don't yet know what the conflict is, what the journey is, or what the resolution is. So I think by coming back to the piece year after year after year, you can gain sort of more understanding of this thing that you think you know really well. And I think that that is something too that is sort of the spirit of the holidays. We have lots of things around it. You get together with your family, you have certain rituals and traditions, but yet every year it's different because there's new people that join your family, new traditions get made, new food gets prepared, and you enjoy the combination of something that's familiar and something that's completely new. And I think that the Nutcracker is a perfect place to come back to every year and sort of give a sense of a cycle to our lives as we go through the year, and yet it never becomes boring or scripted because of how much fantasy is built into all of the possibility of what the Nutcracker can be.